All right, guys. So we're still in the process of elimination, like the elimination method. But now in this case, where we would have a common coefficient, to where we could just add or subtract the other expression. Well, now we don't have a common coefficient, right? So we got to take one more step to make a common coefficient. Right, so this is what if there are no common coefficients. Multiply one or both equations by some number to create matching or opposite coefficients. So this is what we mean. Let's look at number one. If we have these two expressions, right, and you could see it, we don't have a common variable between the two. Look, we got x and we got 2x. We got 3y and we got negative 7y, right? So we have to make a matching coefficient. All right, so to do that, the easiest route to see right now is just the x's, right? We just have an x here and we have a 2x. Well, what could we multiply the top by to give us a common coefficient between the x and the 2x, right? So I'm going to multiply the top by negative 2. But when we multiply, so you could take, if you did negative 2, then you could just combine, right? You could just add the top and the bottom. But if you did 2, then you would have to subtract. But I'm just going to do a negative 2. So if you do a negative 2, excuse me. If you do a negative 2, now we're distributing this negative to everything in that expression. So I got negative 2 times x, which is going to be minus 2x. Negative 2 times 3y, which is negative 6y. Now I got negative 2 times 6, which is going to be negative 12. So now I'm no longer looking at the top expression. I'm only looking at these two expressions now, this one and this one. Now we could combine these two, right? And notice when we combine them, the x's cancel out and we could start to solve for the y. So 2x minus 2x, that's going to give me 0. Negative 7y minus 6y, that's going to be negative 13y. And I got negative 1 minus 12 is going to be negative 13. All right, divide both sides, like we're not looking at that 0 anymore. Divide both sides by negative 13. My y is going to be equal to a positive 1. All right, now I could take that y, and I'm actually going to plug it back into this top original equation, this one right here, because that's the simplest of all of them, and you could do that. So I'm going to take y, I'm going to plug it back into the top one. So I have x plus 3 times 1 is equal to 6. X plus 3 is equal to 6. Minus 3, x is equal to a positive 3. So now my solution is going to be 3, positive 1. And that's my answer. You see, so, it's just one extra step. We don't have common coefficients, right? So now you have to multiply to make a common coefficient, and then you could eliminate, do the process of elimination. Let's go to a more complicated one. Let's try 4. All right, so, well, we have x and we have y, right? So if I wanted to make a common coefficient, you could use either, right? So I have x plus y is equal to negative 3. Then I have 5x minus 2y is equal to negative 50. So you could either multiply by negative 5, or you could multiply by positive 2, right? So I'm just going to stick with 2 because I just like working with positive numbers better. So I'm going to multiply the top by 2. Now when we do that, that's going to give us 2x, right, plus 2y. I made sure it was a positive 2 because this part right here was a negative 2. So now when I combine negative 2y and a positive 2y, that's going to cancel out the y's. And then I have positive 2 times negative 3, which is going to give me negative 6. All right, so again, I'm not looking at that top expression anymore. I'm only looking at my bottom two. So now let's combine these two expressions. 5x plus 2x, that's going to give me 7x. Negative 2y plus 2y, that's going to give me 0. that cancels. And I'm left with negative 50 minus 6, which is negative 56. Divide both sides by 7, and my x is going to give me negative 8. So that's my x, right? So now I'm going to take that x, and I'm going to plug it into the top original equation because it's the simplest equation out of all three. Right, so let's do that. I have my x is negative 8, so I'm going to do negative 8 plus y is equal to negative 3. I'm adding 8 to both sides. Now my y is going to be equal to, looks like a positive 5. So my solution is negative 8, positive 5. All right. All right, let's go to an even more complicated one. Let's do number 8. All right, so here's the situation with number 8. We can't just multiply one expression to give us a matching coefficient from the other expression, right? Like I can't just multiply the top by 5 to give me a 5x in the top, right? So what we have to do is we have to multiply both the top and the bottom by 2 separate values so we can get a matching coefficient, if that makes sense. All right, so I'll show you what I mean. So, and a lot of times, you're just going to multiply the coefficient in the opposite expression. So this is what I mean. So if I'm looking at the top and the bottom, I could multiply. Let's look at the y's. What value, if we were to constantly multiply between 3 and 4, what values would they both eventually have in common, right? So this is what I mean. If I were to multiply the top, I can multiply the top by 4, right? By this 4. And I could multiply the bottom by this 3 right here, this 3. So now when I do that, we're going to have a common expression between the two. And once you get really good at it, you start to realize, okay, so if we do that, now that's going to give us a 12y for both of these. But we want to cancel out a variable. So what I do want eventually is a negative 12y. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the denominator by a negative 3. And I'll show you why. So let's rewrite all this. So I'm doing the top first. 4 times 3x, that's going to give me 12x. 4 times 3y, that's going to give me 12y. 4 times 9, that's going to give me 36. All right. So that takes care of the top expression. I'm not looking at the top expression anymore. Now let's do the bottom expression. I got negative 3 times 5x, which is going to be negative 15x. Negative 3 times a positive 4y is going to be negative 12y. See why I multiplied times negative? Because now the y's will cancel out. Now this is equal to negative 3 times 10, which is negative 30. All right. Now let's combine our two expressions. 12x minus 15x is going to be negative 3x. 12y minus 12y is going to be 0y, so I'm not even going to put it down. And that's going to be equal to 36 minus 30, which is going to give me positive 6. Divide both sides by a negative 3. My x is equal to a negative 2. All right, so that's the x. Now I could take the x and I go off and plug it back into any of our original equations. Let's see which one would be easier. I'll just do the top one. It's got smaller numbers. So I'm going to have 3 times negative 2 plus 3y is equal to 9. Negative 6 plus 3y is equal to 9. Add 6 to both sides. 3y is equal to 15. Divide by 3, divide by 3. my y is equal to a positive 5. All right, so now my expression or my solution is going to be negative 2, positive 5. And that is my answer. All right.